raised by your father, and you are there to be instructed by him with all his rules as the head of the household. There's no way you will hear the voice of your father. And when I taught the lesson and teaching, and I explained to you that I even know the sound of his vehicle, among all the vehicles that pass on the main road, I know the sound of his vehicle, and I know my father is coming home. Before he gets home, before I see him, I already knew. If you don't know the voice of your father, then your father is not in you, and you are not in the father. Because as a human being, even if you are sleeping, your father gets in the house and you hear his voice. In your sleep, you will know that is your father. So you must know and listen to the word that is saying here. So when I heard the voice, for somebody who have never been to hospital, not sick, not anything. And you know what happened that Sunday? I want you to pay attention to that. The moment I got in the house, less than an hour later, I measured my blood pressure again. It was normal. It was just abnormal, 177, I never seen before, over 98. And just coming driving home, then it's normal. It was normal before I got ready to get on the altar, already I got dressed. And then I checked it, it was abnormal. And of course, if you remember the prophecy about the signs and what the Lord has spoken in this season, you will understand what I mean. But I want you to understand that sometimes people get sick and people die because of the sins that they have committed. And we will continue on this at some other time because it's not the end of it. But because I want you to pay attention, going now back into some of these, I want to touch and finish this on this issue of listening to the word of God and the issue of confession. But I want to touch to the book of 1 Samuel, the book of 1 Samuel chapter 15 from verse 10 to 28. 1 Samuel chapter 15 from verse 10 to 28. In the book of 1 Samuel chapter 15 from 1 Samuel chapter 15 from verse 10 to, it says, Then the word of the Lord came to Samuel, saying, I regret that I have made Saul king, for he has turned back from following me, and has not carried out my commands. And Samuel was distressed, and cried out to the Lord all night. Samuel rose early in the morning to meet Saul, and it was told Samuel, saying, Saul came to Carmel, and behold, he set up a monument for himself, then turned and proceeded on down to Gilgal. Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said to him, Blessed are you of the Lord. I have carried out the command of the Lord. But Samuel said, What then is this bleating of the sheep in my ears, and the lowing of the oxen which I hear? Saul said, They have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and oxen to sacrifice to the Lord your God, but the rest we have utterly destroyed. Then Samuel said to Saul, Wait and let me tell you what the Lord said to me last night. And he said to him, Speak. Samuel said, Is it not true, though you were little in your own eyes, you were made the head of the tribes of Israel, and the Lord anointed you king over Israel. And the Lord sent you on a mission and said, Go and utterly destroy the sinners and the Amalekites and fight against them until they are exterminated. Why then did you not obey the voice of the Lord, but rushed upon the spoil and did what was evil in the sight of the Lord? Then Saul said to Samuel, I did obey the voice of the Lord and went on the mission on which the Lord sent me, and have brought back Agag, the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. But the people took some of the spoil, sheep and oxen, and the choicest of the things devoted to destruction, to sacrifice to the Lord your God at Gilgal. What I need you to see in this word, he was talking about what he did. In his own mind, he thought he did something right. He wanted to please his own people. And he thought he was pleasing God because he bringing the best of the sheep and things they have to worship, to sacrifice to God. But is that the command of the Lord? No. The Lord said, destroy all of them, and everything there, destroy them. He didn't ask him to bring the king back to Saul, to Samuel. He didn't ask him to bring anything to be sacrificed to God. And Samuel said in verse 22, has the Lord as much delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice. When I heard the voice, I knew that I had to obey and do as was told. When you hear the voice of the Lord, you must obey as was told. As and to heed and to fat of rams, for rebellion is as the sin of divination, and insubordination is as iniquity and idolatry. Insubordination is equal to idolatry. Rebellion is equal to divination. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has also rejected you from being king. Then Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned. I have